um, there and welcome to Get Started Budgeting. Yeah, it's a group coaching event. I'm Ken Griffin and welcome in everybody that's joining us from all of your various locations. Let's talk a few minutes about what we're going to do today. This is going to be really simple, inventory of some main points of things that you're going to spend money on in the month of September. That's our goal. That's our objective today, is just to get you. It doesn't have to be a complete budget. It can be what we call a starter budget, just to really get you started. And I'll answer any questions if I get anything on chat, or if there are any questions coming in on any of the networks, we'll answer those. And then those that are attending live, you can ask questions live if you want as well. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to get our whiteboard going here, and you're going to see that whiteboard now. I'm going to open that up, and that's collaborative, so you can save it if you're seeing it. You can put your information up there. These whiteboards allow us to share things on them. So, if there's collaboration, you say, hey, well, what about this? What about that? We can do that, okay? But this is going to be our budget exercise, all right? So we call this our budget exercise. And one of the things that we do with that is we can do lots of different types of things. So the first thing we're going to do with this budget is we are going to put some income on there, okay? Because every budget needs income. Every budget needs income. So that is going to be really important. And then also, I've got virtual help from my virtual room. My production and my assistant team, they give me notes periodically, so I have to get those and update you. So one of them that we want to dovetail back on is, what is a budget? A budget is a spending plan for your money. And in this case that we're talking about today, it's a spending plan for your monthly income and expenses, okay? So your monthly money, all right? So as I'm kind of getting that, we also, again, from the production team, why do I need a budget? One of the reasons that we need a budget is so that we can give our money a home, a purpose, and a reason for being. Now, you might have to write all that down. That's what we do. Why do I need to do a budget before the month begins? That's another good, important point that's coming in. It's even coming in on black and white. We need to do a budget before the month begins because we want to happen to our money before anything else happens to it. Did you catch that? We want to happen to our money before anything else happens to it. We believe in proactivity around here, and it's really important that you happen to things before they happen to you, because guess what? Things do happen, all right? So that's good. So I got my background there out of the way, so I'm going to go ahead and strike off with some income. Now, in this example that I'm going to show you here, I'm going to use, say, Ken's income. So if you're watching this, you can say this is Ken's income. This is nobody in particular in the room's income, and I'm going to use a number that's my income. Okay, so for my example, my income is going to be $1,000. This is my September budget. All right, and so if you're following us along, it's just as easy as this. You get a income number up there. I'm going to put up top September. I'm just going to put September budget, okay? That's what this is. And if you want to get technical so nobody thinks I'm putting their stuff, Ken's September budget. So I'm using this to represent a budget to you so that we can have a good example to work from. So the first thing I want to do, there are 4 things we always want to take care of in life, 4 priorities. And those are rent or your mortgage, food, utilities, and one other one, transportation. Okay, so I'm going to start with those guys, because what happens is a lot of times when we're doing budgets, and again, they can be simple, super simple, but sometimes, it can get a little more complicated. So what you'll do is, just like I'm doing this on the whiteboard, you at home that are watching me and following me, you can do this for yours. What is your rent or mortgage? Okay. If you have a mortgage, put that down. Okay. Rent or housing, I'll call it. Could be a mortgage, could be whatever. Basically, you're looking to put whatever it is that you spend. Now, in my example that I'm using, I'm going to put my housing down as $250. Okay, and make that simple. It's $250. I got some people I stay with. We're sharing rooms and stuff like that. So my fourth is for the people, 3 other people, is $250. That's all that it is. Okay. All right. Now that I've got that down, if you put yours down, good deal. You wrote down what yours is. What is your rent or housing for the month of September? Okay. The second thing we're going to do is we are going to list our second wall, which is going to be food. Okay. All right. I'm going to put down food. And again, remember, this is Ken's budget. So I have some abilities to come with numbers as I'm seeing that I need to. My food budget, because I've looked over my receipts, I've gone back and really checked some things out, and I found that I'm spending about $150 on food. One of the ways you could do that, you could track some receipts. You could just start off and kind of guess it. You can do it different ways, but the main thing is to have something down for that. So, and again, remember I said that with budgets, we want to spend the money before the month begins. So we're ahead of time, because this is for September. And as I'm speaking right now, it's August 31st. All right. So I'm in good shape. As long as you get it down before midnight tonight, you're golden, you're good. That's what we want. All right. So I got my food taken care of. Now I need to come into my next one. All right. My next one, for the purposes of this, is going to be my power, utility, energy. Just call it the power bill, right? So this is for your power / energy, however you want to name that one. That's what this one is. So for me, I'm going to go ahead and say that that one is going to be $100. Okay. All right. Now on this one, let's say, for example, you're like, that's interesting. I'm on an equal payment plan. I was with a friend yesterday and we were having a nice conversation, and we just happened to be talking about a power bill. And he was telling me how he was on an equal payment plan for a period of time, and he ended up getting a credit on some of his bills because he had switched over to solar. That's a whole different story. But the long and short was, he was on a level thing. Maybe you're not on an equal payment plan, and you generally, if you've been in your place for a while, you have an idea of what the bill has been running. You want to just strike out and see what that is. Now, if you're just moving into a place, you can also go to the power company. Many times they will give you some estimates or give you some numbers on what the power bill was there. So that helps you, for those that are joining us that are in new places, you haven't been there a long time, you can do that. So you have something down for your power bill. You should have something down at this point, because again, we're spending money on paper and our budget is coming along just fine. It's not real complicated. You could have a spreadsheet, you could have some technology. We're making it really simple today so that everybody gets a budget done. All right, here we go. Now we've got to put our next wall, which our next one is going to be, what do we not have? Transportation. Okay. All right. Now let me say one point on transportation that we like to share a lot. And this is my transportation, as we said, because I'm doing mine here. And I'm going to go with, on my transportation, I'm going with the, let's see, let's go with, get this right here. Get that off of there. Take that off. I'm going to go with, for my transport, $200. Okay. We'll go with 200. How much is yours? I mean, if, and again, transportation is wherever you're listening from, you could have a car. Okay. So if you have a car, maybe hopefully you don't have a car payment and you just have some different types of expenses with that. For the purpose of what I'm doing right here, I'm simply calling out how much I'm spending on transportation. Now, as we get further along and you get further along, we'll break out some things, gas, oil changes, that kind of thing. But for this example that we're doing today, which is really simple and really quick and not overly complicated, I'm spending $200 for my transportation. So that means if I have a car, I've got getting gas in there, the car itself, all of that stuff is in the 200. If I'm riding public transportation, okay, if you're riding public transportation, maybe you don't have a car, maybe it's lower than this, maybe it's higher. It just depends on where you're listening from right now, but you want to actually put in there. Maybe you can walk to most of the places that you need to go, and maybe you're just saving some money to get some transportation of some kind. You could put that in there if you wanted to, that you're doing that for the purposes of this. But most people need to get around somehow, so they'll have transportation. And those are what we call the 4 walls. If you will make sure that you cover these 4 things, this is what's going to happen. You'll have somewhere to stay. You have children, have family. Y'all will have a roof over your head, which is really, really important, right? You will have food in the house. And food, again, can be a grocery store that you're shopping at. It could be a food, it could be a combination of things. What I'm putting here is the amount that I'm going to pull out of my income, my $1,000 income, to spend on food. That's what you're seeing. If I had a voucher, if I had some way that I was getting food that was not costing me to pull it out of my income, I'm only listing right there for this example what it is I have to spend. And then my power bill, same thing, what I'm actually going to do. Now, if we added that up, let's just add that up, right? We got 250, we've got 150, we've got $100, we've got $200, right? Okay, so I'm at $700. So this is important when you're doing a budget. And one of the things that we do is we do zero-based budgets. And what that means is we want to spend all of the money that we have coming in, all the money that we know. If I know I've got money coming in, I want to put it in my income, and then I want to spend it on paper. I didn't say you had to spend it all up before you ever got it, and when you get it, it's not yours. I'm saying spend it on paper. So right now, I know I've just added that up, and I've spent $700 so far. So guess what that does in my budget? It gives me more money to spend. Now, if I went through those 4 things that I just went over, and if I had spent the whole $1,000, then you know what? I'm finished. There's nothing else for me to do with my budget at that point because I've spent all the money that I have coming in. Now, you might say, well, if you did that, you'd be in trouble because there's some other stuff that you need to do. Well, I might be, but if that's what I had to spend to get through the month, because these are generally the 4 most important things that somebody's going to do with money. But there are other things, right? Maybe, for example, I know a lot of you that are watching and listening, you have a cell phone, right? Or a smartphone, however you want to call it, right? So you have a phone. So maybe in my example, maybe I've got, $100 for that, okay? So I'm still spending money that I have. I'm not spending money that I don't have. This is how we avoid getting in debt, charging up things that we can't pay for by doing this process right here, because the spending on paper stops when the money is gone from the paper. And if you'll follow your budget and not just write your budget, it'll work for you every single time, okay? So that's important. I got a cell phone. It's $100, okay? Maybe, school just started. So we got the kiddos going to school. And let's say, for example, I don't know, maybe I had to buy some clothes or something, okay, for the kids. Let's just use that as an example. I'm just kind of spending my money here. All right, I'm gonna say I spent $100 on that. Maybe I did get some, some thrift stores, some secondhand, but I bought some stuff, that type of thing. Maybe they needed some uniforms. I don't know. So now I'm up to, I believe if you do the math, I'm up to $800. Okay. Actually, I think I'm up to $900. Let's check my math. All right. 100 plus 100 plus 200 plus 100. Very important to make sure that you keep a running total of where you are. Okay. All right. See, I'm on $900. So I only have, or I have not only, but I have $100 left in my September budget. So what does that mean? That means I can't spend more than $100 on whatever else it is that I want to do or feel like I need to do in the month of September. Well, in my case, I'm thinking, you know what? I've been working on my emergency fund, and I've heard you folks around Inheritance Financial Coaching talk about it's really important to have an emergency fund. So I'm going to put some money in savings. Okay, that's what I'm going to do because I've got the stuff down that I need to do in my budget. So I'm going to put, guess what? $100 this month. Going to put $100 in savings. And that's going to give me some money going to my savings. I believe that's really going to help me tremendously with things. So when you look at it, I've now covered $1,000. My expenses, if you add them up, we just did the math on that, are now equal to what my income is. So I have a balanced budget. I have a budget. I have on paper, on purpose, just handled my finances for the month of September. Okay, that's what I've done. Now you can say, but Ken, but Ken, what about the stuff that I don't know about? What about things that just come out of nowhere? Well, what about them? Something comes up that you don't have in your budget, then you have to either go back to the budget, make an adjustment. So like savings, for example, say, I don't know, a $25 bill came in and I've already written this budget on August 31st, and there was something I didn't know about. There's two things that I could do. One, I could make an adjustment in my budget, or two, I could say, you know what, I'm gonna pay that in October. If that's a possibility, if it's not something that's just dire urgent that I got to pay, say it comes in on the 2nd, but in reality, it's not due until maybe the 2nd of October, then if that's the case, then I could just tuck it to the side and I don't have to disturb my budget for that. I don't have to change anything or take money away from something to do that. All right. But if it's just a straight up, gotta do dire thing, then I could make an adjustment and handle that in my budget. All right. Now, here's another question sometimes I get. Maybe it's one you're thinking about. What if something comes in, or what if something happens, or what if I have expenses or things to do in September that exceed $1,000? So that was a lot altogether. Something coming in, or just straight up, the stuff that I got that I'm supposed to pay for in September exceeds $1,000. This is talking to myself here. And if you're in that situation, I'm giving you this as an example. What do I do in that scenario? Well, there's a couple things I could do, right? Number one, I could simply say, to start out, I have prioritized with the $1,000 that I have, the most important things in my mind, in my world, that I need to do. So in some cases, I might do nothing else but just stand still and say, you know what? Something in this household, I'm talking to myself now, is just not going to get paid this month. All right? Just not going to get paid. And sometimes, listen to me, that's okay. I'm not saying it's okay all the time. And I'm not saying that you're a bad person because you couldn't pay it and you wanted to. You just, right now in my budget, I don't have the income to do it. Now, I could be looking at new opportunities to get a better job. I could be looking to increase my income. I could be looking to do all of that. But as it stands right now, what Ken knows is that he's going to have $1,000 in September. And so I'm not going to get out here and plan beyond what I know that I have coming in. Now, as things work for me, and maybe I get some extra work and things start to brighten up, and I got extra money that I know is coming in because I've done work and it's coming in, I could add that to my income, and now I could start adding additional things. What I recommend you to do if you have things you can't pay or things that come in that you don't have down, I would be keeping a little side list, okay? It's just a little list on the side. You could write it on your whiteboard, you could call it a side list like this, a side list. I'm just calling it that. And I would start putting things on there, and I would actually rank them in the order of importance, because some things on your side list could be more important than others as it relates to, if I get an extra $200, $100, I'm going to do this. If I get an extra $500, I'm going to do this and this. You see how that works? If there are things that we couldn't pay based on where we were starting the month out, then the side list helps us to identify if I'm able to, go out and cut a few lawns, rake a few leaves, maybe walk some people's dogs or cats or whatever the case may be, and I get some side money coming in, or maybe just do a little side hustling. These are the things I'm going to do with that money. Do you see how we're planning and how we're taking control of the money that's coming in, and we're telling it where to go? Isn't that different? For some of you, that's different, because you've always looked through the rearview mirror and saw where your money went and then said, I don't have any money. Okay. This can be really, really, that can be really, really depressing, to be honest with you, when you do it that way. So this way, it gives us control. It gives us the peace of mind to say, I'm not, and I would tell you in this budget, in my example here, I would say, I'm not satisfied with the income of $1,000, but that's what it is right now. I'm working to improve that. That's what I would tell myself if I'm in this situation, the example I gave. And so I'm working to make that more, but I'm not kidding myself by putting things on a piece of paper and just hoping that, something's going to fall out of the sky and all of a sudden, and handle that and pay that. That's not a good way to handle your finances. It doesn't make sense. And life just doesn't work like that. Okay. All right. So that was a really simplistic way to do this. Okay. And I want to allow a few minutes here, because again, this isn't super long. We're only got about 4 or 5 more minutes to go here, but I do want to give a pause and a space here to see what kind of questions I may have. If people are writing in, if my production team, if they have questions that have been submitted from online, or questions that they felt that needed to be involved, this is the place where we'll do that. Any of my live participants, do you have any questions? It's a time to take questions. You can chat, or you can open your mic up and come in and ask me questions. Okay, here's a question. Yeah, so they were just telling me that this is, again, an example of just the 4 walls. Primarily, I added a few things, but as you have other things, that's just an example. Your budget can be a lot more things than this. This is just a starter place. If you still have money in your budget and you have other things, you keep doing what it is that I actually just did there. You'll just keep adding them and putting the amounts down until you run out. If your income is 1,500 or 2,000, then you've got room to add other things. Maybe you're going to get your hair done. Maybe you're going to go see a friend. Maybe somebody's got a birthday. Maybe you're going to go see a movie. I mean, you may have that kind of money in your budget. In the example I gave you, I didn't. But if you have that, you want to write it down. I'm going to go see a movie. My baby's got a birthday party and they're going to buy a gift for it. My mom's got a anniversary coming up and I wanted to get her something. I want to give some money at church. All of that stuff, you would write the name down, write the amount down. The key thing, though, is not to overspend what you have. That's the key. You don't want to overspend what you have. And you do that by staying fixated on what your income is. Okay, so that was a good question, definitely, or a good point that was added to us. Anything else that you always wanted to ask but were afraid? This is a good time to ask those questions on the budget or something dealing with your finances around this topic. Anything else from any of the team here? For the good of the cause. I don't want to miss you, so just make sure that make sure I get you. Let me check to see anything else is coming off of the Mighty Network. And if you're not on the Mighty Network, you should jump on there. Okay. Let's see. What if you don't have enough for the 4 walls? Okay, so that's a great question that came in. What if I don't have enough for my 4 walls? Well, what you want to do in that situation is get creative, okay? The first thing I would say is that you really, really want to try to protect having a place to stay, okay? If at all costs you have enough to maintain your housing, that's kind of first base, all right? We know that we could do a food bank type of thing, and there's some places, there's definitely some resources we could do that. So we could kind of work together to get food on the table. May not be necessarily all the stuff we like, but we could work that, all right? So that's one thing we could do. The other thing that we could do is if we have a place, it really is helpful if we have the power on, if we have energy. So those are two, energy and housing are two that we got to come up with some money. If we don't have a voucher or we need part of that, those are two we really, really want to try to protect. I mean, those are two that we got to try to protect. And there's different places and agencies and things that can help us specifically with those two. Those are two that they help with a lot. Transportation is one of those things. You might have to walk some places, that type of thing, catch the bus where you can here or there. So you still want to have some way to get around, but you really, if you don't have enough to cover all 4, make sure you're trying to cover at least those 2, your housing, your rent, and your utility bill. So that's a great question because sometimes that's how it is. Things are really hard. There's a lot of inflation out there. I'm hearing from people, they're struggling with some things like that. Okay. All right. Well, I'm just about out of time. Only got a minute left. Thank you guys so much for sharing with us that in that. Thanks for hanging out with us. If you have more questions, you can, you always can reach us on inherit3.com. That's our website. You can go there. You can get in contact with us, put a message in the box and it'll come to us and we can get you whatever you need. So until we have another, stay connected with us, I would say for sure, until the next group coaching comes up, be coming up soon. We'll be putting some things out there. We thank you for joining us, and I hope you have a spectacular, wonderful month of September, rest of the day, and happy budgeting, everybody. Take care now.